Hi, friends. Really good to see you. Welcome. Really good to see you in the midst of it all. And I invite you to land, to settle, to get steady and comfortable as I talk a little bit before we move into practice. But already just feeling the welcome, the openness of the space, the deep welcome of each of you and all of each of you, all the different feelings, sensations, elements moving through, all of them really welcome here. One of the things that we're in the middle of at the moment, one of the many things, is the month of Elul, which is dedicated, as you may know, to the practice of teshuvah, often understood as repentance, literally meaning return. It's not a new theme, returning. It's one I keep coming back to. There you go. I couldn't resist. But I hope I can offer something new or interesting on this theme. Maybe remind you of something, maybe offer something about the dynamic of returning that's so central to where we are in this period in the year that might be supportive at this time. I want to share some of what's alive for me at the moment around this, the season of return that we are in. So, firstly, there's this idea that returning is older than the world, Teshuvah kadma ha'olam, from an ancient teaching that there are seven things which pre-existed the creation of the world, and the last of them, as it's given, is Teshuvah, the capacity for return. I just find this amazing, the idea that returning is older than the world. For me, there's a deep honoring and validating of returning in this notion, and implicitly of the fact that we keep on needing to return. It's like an acknowledgement that you, we, I am going to drift. You feel the compassion in that. That drifting and returning is a primordial movement. It's woven into the fabric of creation, always already there. So that when we lose our way, not if, we've not fallen outside of divine intention. Something like that was always going to happen and is going to keep on happening. We're also told that returning is instantaneous, that it can happen immediately, however far one has drifted. And we're also told, thirdly, that returning is more holy than just staying in one place, more holy than never sinning at all. The Zohar, the great work of medieval Jewish mysticism, says on these last 2 points that Baalei Teshuvah, those who have returned, are meritorious, are praiseworthy, because in the span of one instant, I'm quoting now, they draw close to the Holy Blessed One, more so than the perfectly righteous. I'll share these sources through the source sheet. So returning is part of the plan, part of the deal. It's not just our best attempt to patch together what really should never have broken. We can hear this in terms of the story of our lives. But yes, over many years, we will lose our way, veer off course, and find it again. We can hear it as the story of each day, coming into and out of presence and connection and attunement, into and out of a sense of regulation and steadiness in the face of the terrible pain of the world. Of course, we lose our balance. How could we not? And we can also regain it. We can come back. And it's also returning, drifting, coming back, the story of every single meditation you will ever do. I feel pretty confident to guarantee you that. Sometimes the fluctuations will be more pronounced, sometimes they'll be subtler, but the dynamic of falling or veering away and then coming back is intrinsic to the practice, intrinsic to the aliveness of our being. We don't stay frozen, stuck, immobile. That's what it is to be alive. Returning and aliveness are inseparable. And again, maybe you sense the freedom here, the relief, the openness. It's like, oh, I'm being taught that I don't have to try and hold still this shimmering mass of energy, of being. I can flow with it. Like the little duck in Donald Babcock's poem, who is able to, quoting now, rest while the Atlantic heaves, because he rests in the Atlantic. So when we accept the dynamic nature of everything, we don't suffer from the impossible task of trying to fix it all in place, which we could say is the nature of idolatry, trying to turn what is ceaselessly alive into something unchanging. So I invite you to explore with me and practice this dynamic, this movement of repeatedly returning to right now, waking up again, yet again. Oh, here we are. Returning to a posture that is supportive, fresh and loose and clear. Noticing what's here. Maybe the eyes close, maybe they drop off the screen, rest somewhere with a soft gaze if they are open. Maybe the hands rest in each other. Maybe there's a hand on the chest or the belly. I know that's supportive for me at times, grounding, connecting. As we come back to presence, come back to ourselves, to now, I invite you to notice some aspect of what's here now, which could be supportive for you to turn towards. There's many possibilities, and we just choose something that's available. Sensations of breath or of hand in contact with chest, feet on floor, and the space or the sounds around you, or something else. Something, some achat sha'alti, just one thing I seek, as we say in the psalm each day this month. Just one thing for now that you can keep coming back to. simplicity, the straightforwardness of Achat Sha'alti. Just one thing I seek for now, just this. Whatever this may be for you, whatever your chosen resting place for attention is right now, within the field of your being, just this one thing for now. And of course, there are fluctuations. We're here and then not so much. And then we notice them at some point, sooner or later. And in the noticing, we are already returned to wakefulness. And we might also choose to return attention to what had been our intended focus. Simply, straightforwardly, just to come back. As much as possible, in the background, a sense of allowing the fluctuations, expecting them, kind of half smile of familiarity. Oh, yeah, of course. This is intrinsic to the nature of reality. This is older than the world, coming and going and coming back again. You're not getting it wrong. This is what it's like. Perhaps we return not just to our intended focus, not just to now, but also to the silence which is always beneath the noise, the stillness which is always beneath the waves, the divine wonder and mystery beneath all the stories and happenings, the Shabbat at the end of the week within it. Dimension which is always here, and in our humanity we keep forgetting. In our divinity we keep coming back to it. Perhaps what we really return to again and again is what we return to again and again throughout the high holidays. The 13 attributes of mercy, midot harachamim. We keep coming back to them. Havaya, Havaya, El Rachum v'Chanun, Erech Hapayim v'Rav Chesed v'Emet, Notzer Chesed la'alafim, Nosei Avon v'Fesha v'Chata v'Nakeh. Yud Hey Vav Hey. Compassion and tenderness, patience, forbearance, kindness, awareness, bearing love from age to age, lifting guilt and mistakes, and making us free. Thank you, friends, for your practice.
Thank you so much, Zac, as always, for this beautiful practice of return. Shabbat Shalom. Friends, we seal the practice as we do each day. Those of you who are in mourning, if you're observing a yard site at this season, if your custom is to join in the mourner's Kaddish, you're invited to do so. If you're not, we encourage you to stay present and offer your compassionate support for those who are. Stay present for a few more moments. And thanks to Natalie for sharing the words on the screen. If you'd like, you can put the name or names of those you're honoring in the chat now or after we recite Kaddish, and I will also sound the shofar as we have been doing each day of Elul after the Kaddish. So if you're reciting Kaddish, please join me by rising in body or in spirit, and you can unmute at this time. Yitkadal,
Yitkadash Shmei
Rabbi
Rabba Yama Divrach
Yitkadash Shmei Rabba Yalma Divrach
Aye Dechol Beit Israel, Agala B'Zman
El
Amen.
Ba'ala
Shema
Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam
Shma Rabba Mevarach Le'olam
Barach
Le'olam Ha'ad
Har B'Shamam
Har
Par'ash
B'Shamam
Yitkafa
B'Sei
Har B'Ramam
Dar
Yitkalev Yitalal Shmei Dekucha Lavi Kirtata V'Shirata
Ata B'Nechama
Shkachata V'Nechemata
Aran
Da'amiran
Ba'onan
Ne'lama Amen. Chaim Aleinu Kol Yisrael Yisrael Amen. Shalom V'Mroma
Shalom B'Rima
Shalom Aleinu Kol Yisrael Yimru Amen.
Amen. My friends, I'll sound the shofar as I mentioned. Friends, if you're just leaving us now, we hope you'll join us next week. I mentioned that next week will be led all week, Monday through Friday, by Rabbi Laura Bellows of Dayenu, the Jewish Call for Climate Action, who's going to be each day leading a practice based on one of the principles of Dayenu's spiritual adaptation approach to dealing with the climate crisis. Very much looking forward to that. Encourage you to join us any or all of the days. Of course, as always, they'll be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. Thanks to Zac Newman of Hamakom, our teacher today, brilliant as always, and Natalie Rushinoff, holding our tech space, brilliant as always. And you're welcome to stay on. Oops, let me turn off my original sound. Better? Better, okay, sorry. You're welcome to stay on, of course, for a conversation with Zac about today's teaching and practice, or just to use this time to sit together. And if you're leaving us now, of course, we wish you all a sweet, restorative Shabbat and hope that this practice helped you make that transition beautifully. So Zac, let's bring you in. Thank you so much. I know Natalie shared the source sheet, which has references to the sources that Zac mentioned over the course of his teaching. Maybe we can put that in again. It's a great Elul practice, Zac. What was new for me in listening and sitting was some awareness of a paradox that came up for me as you were reminding us of not just the centrality, but actually the kind of primordial quality of teshuvah, of return, right? The idea that it's preceded creation. It's embedded in creation and even is deeper than creation. So that's on the one hand, that's one part of the paradox, is that that instinct of returning is kind of pre-programmed into the universe and us. And then what you mentioned about idolatry, which I really wanted to lift up, the sense that whenever we try to fix what is constantly changing, that is a form of idolatry, of trying to make something, hold on to something and make something permanent and unchanging that can't be, such as life unfolding. What it made me think of that was that the way to that when I just think about return, I think about coming back to where I have been. I'm going to return back home. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back to what I know, what's familiar, and or my intention. But the fact that you reminded us that that really is impossible because everything is changing at every moment. We never come back exactly to where we were in a point in time. So I really thought about the helix, about the spiral, a spiraling circle, as a bit, as a metaphor that reminds me that yes, like in a sense, I'm coming back, and but what I'm coming back to is something utterly new and different than what I left when my wandered off, when my mind wandered off, whatever. Um, and it dispels the illusion of, oh yes, I'm coming back to my intention. I'm back in my body. I'm back to my breath. I'm back to this. So it added an important new element that that we're always returning, but we're returning to something new and unknown and fresh. So I don't know if there's a question there. You're welcome to respond to that, but I mostly I want to thank you for that, for bringing that, lifting that up in my awareness.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Oh, that's such an interesting practice, isn't it? To hear someone's reflection and then have the opportunity to respond. I use the meditation app Insight Timer, some of you may know it, for the timer on my meditation that I do each morning. And when you open the app, it gives you a quote for the day. And the quote today was something like, the great problem in our communication is that we don't listen in order to understand. We listen in order to reply.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to listen to you and just understand, right? Like I'm
Right.
just um
Well, there is a question that I don't want to interrupt you, so feel free to go ahead. There's Paula is asking a question, which is inviting you to maybe say a little bit more about what you said about idolatry being about trying to hold on to what's alive and moving and try to make it unchanging. So anyway, it's worth even just saying more about that piece at some point. I'm
hmm.
sorry to interrupt. I was listening to reply clearly.
It's I mean it's really interesting, isn't it? I'm just kind of with that there's something to me very beautiful in a recognition and deep allowing of life changing, unfolding, flowing. There's a kind of release there. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you have permission not to try and hold on because often for all sorts of reasons I feel like I want to hold on. And sometimes it gets more painful as I do that. And so teachings that really give me permission and honor the wisdom of not doing so. It feels good for my being. Um, and there is something enormously valuable and creating of safety and steadiness to have things that are regular and stable and holding. For example, daily practices, right? Our tradition is like so wonderfully replete with them. And it feels like both to me. I remember talking here some months ago, Elu ve'elu divrei Elohim chayim,
Mm-hmm.
right? These great
Right.
debate happening between the sages, and the divine voice comes down and says, you know, these and these, both sides of the coin, are the words of the living God. So I'm feeling that too now, to keep coming back to um, something steady and reliable, to have faith, to have loyalty, to stick with something.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps it becomes idolatrous when that's the only part. And I feel like, you know, we're quite good at that part. We have lots of messages about that part: fix it, store it, save it, acquire it, own it, put it in a box and make sure of it. Like it, we're not wrong. There's a lot of value in that. So we're not necessarily swinging the pendulum all the way to the other end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
We're just saying, hey, there's this other thing going on too, which is within the order and the regularity. There's also a bottomless mystery. And
Mm-hmm.
if you try and scoop out that bottom and make it all concrete and stone and fixed, then you've lost something. You've lost something divine.
Right.
But I like to think perhaps that the divine itself is all of it, including those parts that really steady us and
Mm-hmm.
hold us.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking a little bit about that, I think, the last time I was here, about the
Yep.
practices that I do every day, which help
Yep.
me to
That's
have
right.
a sense of order and
Right.
regularity. So putting the two together, I suppose.
It's great. It's great. Well, you know, that paradox is also captured in our tradition with these concepts of keva, of a fixed ritual, like the ritual that you're describing, and kavanah, intention, you know, behind it. And also in terms of understandings, in terms of theology and understanding God or the divine, of having an aspect that's transcendent, like the mystery that you're describing, that's beyond, that's unknowable, that's you know, can't be captured, and the imminent, which is the immediate experience of being, you know, of God in this moment and in this body right now, and having both be true at the same time, which are, you know, whenever we find something that's hard to wrap our heads around, then I have a sense that we're probably coming closer to something true. Um, there's a lot of the questions in the chat, I think, are very much still in this same vein about returning to what, you know, and you invited us at the end to come back to and really let us into the 10 days of Teshuvah, of turning, of we're coming back to number one, we just said, back to ourselves, back to this moment, and an awareness of being new and recreated at every moment. And also, but you let us to thinking to coming back to the 13 attributes of rachamim, of compassion or of mercy that you mentioned. And maybe you can just say a word more about that, especially for people who may not be familiar with what that is. There's a link to it in the source sheet for those who want to check it out more later. But can you explain to people what that is, or remind people what that is
Mm.
in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Go.
The 13 attributes of mercy, the midot harachamim, are we first come across them after the incident of the golden calf in the book of Exodus, and they are said to be the qualities of the divine. Um, and there's a lot of commentary on exactly which those 13 are, and there's a whole nother set of 13 that are offered in a different place, and much discussion. But during the High Holy Days, we read them, sing them, come back to them. Even during this month of Elul, the practice of Slichot, which is said every day, we include these attributes of mercy, and they're really like a thread, a statement of something that we weave through these days of awe and our preparation for them. And I really appreciate the question, like, what are we returning to?
Mm-hmm.
And what are these 13 attributes? What do we keep coming back to? What's underneath? What's within it all? That question wakes me up. It really wakes me up. It really kind of opens my heart. And my encouragement to myself, to you too, if you want to take it up, is to see if you can let that question hang in the air for a while.
Mm.
I don't have an answer to it that's anywhere near as powerful as the question itself. So maybe we just keep that in mind. We put it up on our wall somewhere, and it's perhaps a life's work to feel our way toward a response.
I love that. I love that. Maybe that should be the question on the wall of every shul and minyan over the holidays. What are you returning right now? Thank you. Zach, as always, so beautiful. Just a pleasure. Beautiful, just warms my heart to get ready for Shabbat with you. So thank you so much, and wish you Shabbat Shalom. I know it's coming in probably very soon for you. And thanks to Natalie. And of course, I really do want to thank Candace and Donna for sponsoring today's practice in my honor. Very touched by that. Thank you so much. And Natalie, as always, very grateful to you and for you, and holding our space together in ways that people don't often see, get to appreciate, but we do. And we hope everyone has a sweet, restorative Shabbat, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday with Rabbi Laura Bell.